curling fans, and welcome back to continuing coverage of the SGI Canada Best of the West. Day 2, John Cullen back with you. Thanks again to Sean Meacham and Sophia Maybergs for filling in for me this morning. But I'm back and I'm ready to rock and potentially lose my mind again here on Day 2 of this fantastic championship. We have what amounts to a playoff game here. It is the final round robin game between Manitoba 1, Team Mackenzie Zacharias, and Team Alberta 2, Marla Sherrer. And both these teams are at 1-1, and with BC2 having defeated both of these teams and sitting at 2-0, they have already clinched first place in the group. And so this game essentially will determine which of these two teams makes it to the playoffs. So lots at stake here for these two teams, and it should be a fantastic game of curling this afternoon. Of course, we are live from the Nutana Curling Club in Saskatoon. And it's going to be a great day of curling as these teams compete for those precious playoff spots. For those of you who have been following along, there's 2 pools of 4 teams on both the men's and ladies side of things. Top 2 teams in each pool advance to the playoffs. And they'll be playing tomorrow, well, tonight and tomorrow, for a $10,000 purse. So $10,000 first prize, not purse. So lots at stake here for both of these teams, and it looks like these two teams happy to find their way into the game here. As Sarah Drummond throws the first one into the house and Team Zacharias chooses to hit it. Not uncommon to see teams do this on the second day of a tournament, just get a sense of whether the ice has changed from yesterday, especially for these ladies teams. They had 2 draws off, so they played yesterday at 4:30 p.m. and then the men played last night and this morning. So it's been 2 full draws since they've been out here, so I'm sure both teams would love to get a feel for the ice. And we'll get a feel for these teams as Mackenzie Zacharias, probably a team that you are familiar with, curling out of the Altona Curling Club in Altona, Manitoba. Skip Mackenzie Zacharias, 3rd Carly Burgess, 2nd Emily Zacharias, and lead Lauren Lenentine. Of course, they are former World Junior Champions back in 2020 and have had a great year on tour this year, currently ranked number 13 in the world. And if you've been following the curling news at all, the 4 of them will be joining Jennifer Jones next year. Maybe you've heard of her. So it's going to be perhaps a step up for the Zacharias team, but really not too much further for them to step up, as they were the Manitoba champions this year, and as we say, former World Junior champions. All 4 young ladies, very accomplished curlers. Over on the other side, a team that you might be a little less familiar with, but has been playing on the Alberta Curling Tour all season and has had quite a bit of success, as Julie Selve unfortunately misses that one, so it's going to give Team Zacharias a chance to split the house here. But Team Sherrer from the Lacombe Curling Club in Alberta, Marla Sherrer the skip, 3rd is Chantel Broderson, 2nd Julie Selve, and lead Sarah Drummond. You may recognize Chantel Broderson's name the most out of those 4, as she was also a Canadian junior champion with Kristen Streifel back in 2017, winning the bronze at the World Championships. She's also a former Alberta mixed doubles champion, winning with Kyler Kleibrink. We saw him and his team in action earlier this week. Unfortunately, they lost this morning to drop to 0-3 and miss the playoffs. Sherrer ranked number 77 in the world, so quite a bit of a gap between those two teams, but Sherrer has gone 1-1 so far, had a nice win over Saskatchewan yesterday. Saskatchewan 2, Lorraine Schneider, so they'll be looking to pick up their 2nd win here and make the playoffs, just as Team Zacharias will.
I didn't think that one was up that much. Yeah. Well, she wanted 10 on that too. Yeah. No.
I'm sorry, it's Julia Selve, not Julie. My apologies. As she makes that hit and stick, but chance for Emily Zacharias to hit it back and continue to lie too. So we'll get our first look here at Chantel Broderson, the third for Team Sherrer.
Hard, Julie. Around it. I think it's in. It's really close. Around it. This should be fresh. I think a 14. And what was a 14? Yeah, pretty close. Sorry.
So the Zacharias rink, not entirely sure if this rock is in the rings. Mackenzie Zacharias seems to think it is, but by drawing around it here is probably a smart call. Then that way, if Chantel Broderson decides to chase the double, you have a corner guard up that you can draw around and still potentially get your two. Okay, I was right the first time. It's Julie Selve. I just saw the graphic on the bottom of the screen and I got confused, but I can confirm. Julie Selve. So now they're both definitely in the house. So Chantel Broderson will probably try to roll behind this red one. And very nice hit and roll from Chantel Broderson. Only unfortunate thing here is there is a bit of an angle here for Carly Burgess, so if she does make the run back, she should also be able to roll her shooter onto the rings. Broderson would have loved that to roll just half a foot further to the right as you're looking at it, and then a straight run back would have meant that it would have been Manitoba only sitting one. So still an opportunity here for Carly Burgess. Originally from Nova Scotia is Carly. She's won 3 World Junior titles, as well as World Junior silver and bronze. Went to 5 World Juniors in a row as both a player on 3 of those teams, winning with Mary Fay, Caitlin Jones, and Mackenzie Zacharias, and then winning medals as the alternate for Selena Sturme and Kristen Streifel, the team that Chantel Broderson was on. So very accomplished career for young Carly Burgess. She also has a Youth Olympics gold medal that she won with Mary Fay and Tyler Tardy and Sterling Middleton, who are also in this tournament. We'll see them in the playoffs tomorrow. Very respected curler, made the move over to Winnipeg to curl with Mackenzie Zacharias and join her boyfriend Jacques Gauthier, who we've seen out here competing in the men's doubles as well. And now we'll be calling Manitoba home for the next quadrennial, one would assume. So first stone here for Marla Sherrer, just going to try and roll over towards that red stone. See if she can maybe get a grouping of these reds for a double on her last one. And she does just that. Fantastic shot from Marla Sherrer. What a roll.
Yeah. I mean, if we know the chest makes a double, but try and roll it in.
So nice start here for this Sherrer rink. Made a couple very nice hit and rolls to potentially get themselves out of trouble here. So we get a look there. Mackenzie Zacharias should still be able to make this very short run back and roll onto the rings, but you heard Lauren Lenentine say, even if they nose it, Marla still has to make the double, and if she makes the double, you get the blank that you were chasing from the start of the end anyway. But I'm sure with a potential 2 available, Mackenzie Zacharias would love to get that roll onto the rings. And so unfortunately just getting a little bit wide on that one is Mackenzie Zacharias, and so an open hit for Marla Sherrer here to secure the blank. That roll ending up paying off for her in a big way. So final stone here for Marla Sherrer in the first. Just needs to make this Zacharias stone disappear. Would love to stick around to force Zacharias into a hit for her blank. And she will do just that.
9-5.
So nice recovery here for the Sherrer team. It was looking like they might be giving up an opening end too, but a couple nice hit and rolls from Chantel Broderson and Marla Sherrer. And they will secure the blank. So looking for the blank here, but this is hanging. And it will finish just in time. So Mackenzie Zacharias gets the blank after all. We'll put a couple zeros on the board, and Manitoba will continue to have the hammer when we come back. You're watching the SGI Canada Best of the West. So we saw a first end that may have led to a 2 for Team Zacharias, but a couple nice bailout shots from the back end, and Marla Sherrer was able to force Mackenzie Zacharias into the blank. So we will see Team Manitoba 1 with the hammer once again here in the second. And we saw Sherrer put their first one in the house again, but this time Mackenzie Zacharias does not chase after it, and we'll have a little bit of an end on our hands here as they get a corner guard up. Marla Sherrer has had some success on the Canadian stage as well. She's a 2017 Canadian college champion, winning with the Red Deer Queens, and has been to the Canadian College Championship a few times. And Sarah Drummond, the lead, all the way back in 2009, was a U18 Alberta champ with a name that might be familiar to you, Jocelyn Peterman. Brittany Tran was also on that team, and Brittany's out here curling with Kayla Skurlik. That's what tends to happen at these events when you get a congregation of all the best under 30 curlers in Canada. A lot of great resumes, a lot of people who have curled together and against each other for a long time, and this tournament's been a great showcase for the young players in this country so far. And sometimes if you don't make the guard perfect. You get a little chap off the corner guard and roll. If you could make that shot every time, you'd try it every time. So you move the corner guard a little further off the desired line and roll to a perfect center guard. So up to Lauren Lenentine now to chase. I was asking the Team Zacharias girls last night about their curling growing up. You know, I think when we think of young curlers, we think of young curlers having role models, and Lauren Lenentine maybe had a bit of a, not a weird one, but one maybe you wouldn't hear too much. Her curling role model growing up was Adam Casey. I guess if you're a PEI curler, you would obviously know and love Adam. So yeah, we had a good chuckle at that one. Just not obviously Adam, amazing curler. It's just not a name that you always hear. It's, you know, Carly was sort of like, oh yeah, my role model was Jennifer Jones, Mackenzie Zacharias. Oh yeah, Jennifer Jones for me too. Lauren, well, Adam Casey. Not sure what Adam's up to next year, but sounds like a return to PEI might be in the cards, speaking of that lovely province. Of course, Lauren, originally from PEI, represented them at the juniors a few times before winning the Canadian juniors with Caitlin Jones out of Nova Scotia and then moving to Manitoba. She's actually was the first female junior to represent 3 different provinces. Obviously, we've seen that happen at the higher levels a few times, but in juniors, usually you only have so many years of junior curling, so. It's difficult to do, but Lauren has been a great player and a great teammate, and so that's usually a good recipe for people to track you down and want to play with you. And
yeah, I thought they gave you more. I appreciate it.
She's had obviously a lot of success. So back to our game at hand, Julie Selve just would love to maybe jiggle these red stones around, sit on top of them. Very nice shot there from Selve. So Emily Zacharias looking for the run back here and will find it. Excellent shot there. Getting rid of 2 of the yellows and leaving their red, the shot stone, behind cover. Fantastic shot. So Chantel Broderson looking for a freeze here. She seems to believe it's heavy out of her hand.
Got it, curl.
And one of those where I think Chantel would be maybe happy to be wrong. Makes an excellent shot there. Right on top. So it continues to be Zacharias lying one with hammer, but
It seemed quick.
nice shot from Chantel Broderson, forcing the other turn here for Carly Burgess. Going to try and get on top of that yellow one in the 8-foot. Need this one to get there. And just a little bit light from Carly Burgess. We haven't really seen this side of the sheet played too much, so possible that she might have, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what Mackenzie Zacharias echoing my thoughts up here. Haven't seen too much play on this side of the ice, so maybe just a hair slower, and that'll come up light for Burgess. So opportunity now for Marla Sherrer perhaps to get another one in here. Pretty good shot from Broderson there. A little light.
You gotta throw him positive on that side. That's crazy.
I think Lauren Lenentine and Mackenzie Zacharias haven't realized that it's not Mackenzie's shot. It's Carly's shot. And they just realized it now. You have the hammer still. That's how the game works. When you blank an end, you keep the hammer. So gonna try to have Burgess run this into the pile here. There is a scenario where you could get rid of both yellows, but that's a little bit unlikely. I'm sure they'd just love to get rid of the yellow that's in the 4-foot. And they will, and that's a fortunate little catcher there for Carly Burgess too, and now it's Zacharias sitting 1 and 3 with the hammer.
Where do you want it ideally? Like same spot? Okay, yeah.
So Marla Sherrer will look to essentially copy the shot that Chantel Broderson just threw, but would love to potentially get shot rock out of it. There's a few good scenarios for her here. Even if she freezes on top of that red, it's pretty good too.
Room. Lots of room. Running. Yep.
And this looks a little heavy.
Yep. Hard.
And indeed it is. They were trying to sweep it to maybe get a piece of that red one, but just didn't quite get there, and so maybe a little distracted by Carly Burgess's miss short, but Marla Sherrer a little heavy there, and so opportunity now for Zacharias to really get in there and put some pressure on Sherrer.
I don't really know what we were getting pick, but I was trying. Not all right.
So first stone here for Mackenzie Zacharias, already lying one with the hammer,
Line's good.
looking to get a second one in there.
Running with starting
And this has a similar track to the Marla Sherrer stone, so it might be a little bit heavy here too. And indeed it is. And it even rolls too far to be fourth shot, so not the result that Mackenzie Zacharias would have wanted there. And now I think if you're Marla Sherrer, you're probably just trying to force Zacharias to one if you can. You saw her indicate with her broom she'd love to freeze on top of that red one. I think that's probably the right call. If you get shot stone here, Zacharias would likely have a play at it for two, so freeze on top of this red one and reduce the scoring area for Zacharias. She'd likely play an in off her own to try and get a second point if this shot is made.
Line's good.
So final stone for Marla Sherrer here in the second end.
Where? Hey, line's good.
Trying to get this in a spot where she can cut Manitoba down.
Close. Julie. Straight, 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 straight. Hard, hard, hard. Hard, hard, hard. Hard, hard, hard. Go, go, go. Okay.
It's in a pretty good spot for Marla Sherrer. And so it is going to be the in off, as I figured. They maybe briefly considered running in one of the top ones and maybe make the double to score three, but that's a lot of risk for not a ton of reward. You could end up giving up a steal of one or two depending on where you hit it, so I think this is the correct call. So final stone for Mackenzie Zacharias, looking for an in-off for two. And it just will over curl a little bit too much. So It is actually the first stone of the end thrown by Lauren Lenentine that scores. Neither team able to do much with it for the rest of the end, and Zacharias will be forced to one. We'll get our first look at Marla Sherrer with the hammer when we come back. You're watching the SGI Canada Best of the West.
Our roots might be simple, but our methods are far from it. Canadian dairy farmers proudly meet some of the most stringent standards in the world, including the 42 food safety requirements set by our national quality program. We do it by working hard and by ensuring that every cow is monitored every day so that we can bring you high quality milk. High Canadian standards. That's dairy farming forward.
Saskatchewan, you know SaskTel because we're everywhere. Because being everywhere keeps us connected to you. With SaskTel sponsorships, we get to be part of your community. We're here with you, and we're here for you. It's easy to get started. All you need to do is apply. SaskTel cares. Always has, always will. To apply for sponsorship, visit sastel.com/sponsorships.
Right, nice. That's awesome. Welcome back. John Cullen here with you, continuing coverage of the SGI Canada Best of the West live from the Nutana Curling Club in Saskatoon. And as I said just before the break, one of those ends where neither team could really put their stamp on the end. Lauren Lenentine threw up a draw and around a center guard to start the end, and that ends up being the only point that scores. Sherrer tried to get in there. Zacharias had an in-off with her last one for a potential score of 2, but couldn't quite make it, and so have to say a good end for Marla Sherrer. She'll be happy with getting out of giving up the potential 2 in the first and then forcing Zacharias to 1 in the second. So we'll see what they can do, this squad from Lacombe, Alberta, with the hammer here. Just looking over at the other sheets, I can try and give you some updates here. It's Saskatchewan 2, Lorraine Schneider against Team BC 1, Corinne Brown. It's actually Lorraine Schneider out to an early lead, 2-1 over Brown, and Schneider also has the hammer in addition to the lead. In the women's doubles, Taylor Reese-Hansen and Sierra Fisher of BC out to an early 3-0 lead over Shaylin Kitts and Maddie Kleider of Saskatchewan. Beside them, it's another BC-Saskatchewan matchup. Kayla McMillan, British Columbia 2, is up 2-1 over Courtney Fesser. And McMillan also has the hammer. They're playing the third. A couple other games in the first end here, so I'll try to update you as we go. So just a little click off here for Lauren Lenentine. Might open the door here for Sarah Drummond to make a hit and roll inside. As I said earlier, this game is for a playoff spot. Both of these teams at 1-1. So whichever one wins this game will advance to the semifinals tonight.
Yeah.
Both the BC teams for the ladies have already advanced to the playoffs, Kayla McMillan and Corinne Brown. And it'll just be a matter of which team is joining them. Of course, it's the winner of this game that will join them. And then for the other pool, it's the match between Beth Peterson and Kayla Skurlik. And I can tell you now, there are 2 ends into that game, and it's a big steal of 2 for Beth Peterson in the second. And so she leads Kayla Skurlik 4-0. So again, the winner of that game will move on to the playoffs as we see Emily Zacharias make a nice freeze. So there'll be no tiebreakers for the ladies. It's just whichever team can win these games this afternoon. Over on the men's side, we do have a tiebreaker. Braden Calvert playing off against Karsten Sturmay. We'll have that game for you live at 4:30 local time. A rematch from yesterday's game, which was perhaps decided by that Braden Calvert, how you doing in the first end. Had a shot for 5, was sitting 2 when he went to throw it. Managed to peel out his own 2 and give up a steal of 1. And Karsten Sturmay cruised from there, but Calvert's had 2 great wins since then. So they'll be looking to exact some revenge on the Alberta rink. And as I said, we'll have that game for you at 4:30 local time, which is 6:30 Eastern and 3:30 Pacific. So another nice shot there from Julie Selve, and looks like we're going to have another freeze called here for Emily Zacharias. Zacharias makes no mistake. So it is the Manitoba rink lying 1 without hammer. So they talked about peeling the center guard, but looks like they've decided to maybe play like back 4 weight and just try to chisel this red one by the yellow one at the back of the button to lie 2.
I think it's left. Halfway. Okay, that's all right.
So an unfortunate miss there by Julie Selve, coming up a little short. Opens the door here for Carly Burgess to be able to really put a little pressure here on Team Alberta without the hammer. This is really curling. I don't know what happened to that one. The sweepers thought it was heavy, actually, out of her hand, and just looked like maybe the curl started early and it lost all the weight on it. The ice here from Lawrence and his crew has been fantastic. Lots of curl, great speed. But with that curl does come potentially early break point. If you're a little light and you don't hit the break point where you want to, it ends up in a tough spot. We saw that with the Burgess rock there. So Chantel Broderson just going to peel these 2 off the middle. And only is able to get 1, so that could prove to be a critical miss with Zacharias still sitting the 1. Essentially a wasted rock. Peeling that one off the top doesn't really help Sherrer at all. So Carly Burgess going to try and get around everything once again. And like her last rock, this is really curling. And again, it's just a little light. So So again, just that little bit light, hits that break point a little bit early. And of course, when the rock curls earlier like that, it also slows the rock down. So it ends up looking a lot lighter than it actually was out of your hand. You can be just a couple feet light out of the hand, but when the ice curls a lot, if you're just that couple feet light, it curls a little earlier. That also takes some of the speed off, and you end up being 6 or 8 feet light instead of the sort of 2 or 3 feet light you might have been out of your hand. So a couple short misses for Carly Burgess, and now Chantel Broderson's going to try and do some cleanup here. As right now, they simply have no way of getting at that Zacharias stone. Once again, just not hitting it where they wanted to, so it still leaves that Zacharias stone sitting shot, and with 2 guards out front, and we can see there, great view of the front of the house, those guards are also staggered, so no run back possible there for Sherrer.
Yeah, I like it.
So another chance here for Mackenzie Zacharias to stuff the turkey, as we used to say in my old days. You're already sitting 1, you got beautiful staggered guards out front. If you could ever get another one in here, it's going to be very difficult for Marla Sherrer to score. Team Zacharias just not quite getting dialed into their draw weight here this afternoon. Couple light from Carly Burgess and that one heavy from Mackenzie Zacharias. They still sit 1, but the damage could be much worse for Marla Sherrer.
Play it to nose it almost. If you play that, that might clip this. Yeah. Whatever you see. I think clear is
So Chantel and Marla just talking here about whether they want to peel the top. The problem with peeling the top is that to get rid of both of those 2 guards, you're probably leaving your yellow right there. And so then that would give Zacharias the opportunity to just draw down again. You'd assume she'd make it this time, and you're going to be in really tough to score. So they've elected to draw here. They're just going to try the out turn, come around everything, and see if they can get shot or at least get close to shot. And maybe they're rethinking.
You're throwing against 4. If you open it up, she does that, you're throwing against 4. She'll have a straight line or off. Then you're still playing this. Opening this up, I feel like you're either sticking there or you're running it into the house. Like you can play. You'll probably just do this. Yeah, or you'll be here.
So you heard from Chantel too, even if you make the double perfectly and you do manage to get your rock off of the center line and somehow miss all the rocks in the house, when you do that, then Zacharias, the way the rocks are lined up, she can actually just nose that front red and lie 4. And then you have an out-turn draw to the pin against 4 instead of potentially against 1, or you might even score if you get this rock to the pin. So I like the thinking there from Broderson.
Lots of room. Whoa! 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 Whoa!
So would love to get a piece of the pin here if you're Marla Sherrer.
Whoa! Sarah! Straight, straight. Yep, hard, 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 hard. Really hard, 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 hard.
Can they get it there?
Okay, that's a good spot.
Just
Sweet.
not quite, but yeah, not in a bad spot now. Makes Mackenzie Zacharias have to think about it.
Yeah.
She's likely just going to guard that, as now Sherrer does have a chance to maybe use that yellow and run it into the red to lie 2. Yeah, it looks like Sherrer can see enough of the rock here where if you come down, hit it onto here, she could lie there for 2. So Zacharias just going to guard somewhere up here so that she doesn't have that shot. So final stone for Mackenzie Zacharias, trying to protect the single point that they've been counting for most of this end.
Keep a broom on it. No, you don't have to go. Just save it. Okay, it's gonna overthrow. Yep, 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 yep. Yep. Yep, it's overthrow.
And that will do the job. So for Marla Sherrer, you're either playing the run back on the front or maybe the angle run on the yellow.
Either or, whatever you think's easiest. Okay. Where do you have to hit this thing? Yeah.
So her 2 options here are to come down, hit this one, onto this one,
Okay.
onto this one, here to lie 2. As you can see, fairly complicated. You got to get 4 rocks moving. This one, to me, looks like it makes a little bit more sense, and that is the one they're calling. You just run straight back. You want to catch this one just off the nose on the high side to hit this one, lie here for 2, and miss the back yellow. So final stone here for Marla Sherrer in the 3rd. She's been facing a single Zacharias point for most of this end. We'll see if she can get rid of it and score 2 here.
Whoa, whoa! Sarah! Slack here.
And she will pop it out a little bit, and it just does not come back. So a very similar end for Zacharias, counting a point early and making it count at the end of the end. So they will take a 2-point lead into the 4th. You're watching the SGI Best of the West.
be simple, but our methods are far from it. Canadian dairy farmers proudly meet some of the most stringent standards in the world, including the 42 food safety requirements set by our national quality program. We do it by working hard and by ensuring that every cow is monitored every day so that we can bring you high-quality milk. High Canadian standards. That's dairy farming forward.
We are back live from the Nutana Curling Club here in Saskatoon. John Cullen with you once again for this final round-robin game between Mackenzie, Zacharias, and Marla Sherrer. A must-win game for both teams. The winner of this one will move on to the playoffs. And it's been a story of just, both teams struggling with their shot making a little bit. Hasn't been, I would say, a picturesque game for either team. I think they would probably agree with me. Just neither team able to really assert themselves on this game so far. Obviously, Zacharias up 2-0, but had multiple chances to score 2 points in the second end. Never could really get anything going. And then in the third end, had a chance to really put some pressure on Sherrer and get them on their back foot. Were never really able to do it, and Sherrer was also never really able to get close to scoring. So I think both teams will look to have maybe a better second half of the game, as we're going to see a hit here from Marla Sherrer. I'm a little surprised by that, given that they're down 2. Zacharias will be more than happy to blank this end. No mistake made from Lauren Lenentine. Can tell you there's a big score update over on sheet 4. Courtney Fesser stealing 3 in the third end against Kayla McMillan and BC2. So it's now Saskatchewan 2 with the lead, 4-2 over Kayla McMillan. Unfortunately, that game doesn't really mean anything for either of those two teams. Courtney Fesser is already eliminated, and Kayla McMillan has already secured first in their group. But I'm sure Fesser would love to end her tournament with a win. So we do see the corner guard now from Sarah Drummond. She's having a really nice game so far. I got my main man Ryder on the stats up here. Sarah curling 92% through the first 3 ends. So she's had a very nice start to the game. Lauren Lenentine, her opposition, also having a great start, 96%. Through the first 3. And both of those leads made all their shots. So
A dust to top 12.
So I would assume those percentages are going up.
I don't hate this. I like the hit.
So Emily Zacharias just slid that guard into the house. So opportunity here for Julie Selve to get a hit on this one. So far, that's the biggest positional gap in the game so far. Emily Zacharias having a very nice game, curling 92%, and Julie Selve at 46%. Now, she did have that flash in the first end that was a 0 for 4. That's mostly dragging that percentage down, but I'm sure she'd love to improve on that in the second half, and she makes a nice hit and roll there. everyone else pretty evenly matched across the board, so it's not a huge surprise that we've seen even last end Emily Zacharias' draw ending up being the one that counts. And speaking of Emily Zacharias, makes a nice shot there. So center guard and a corner guard up. It was maybe looking like Sherrer was favoring the blank to start this end, but we've got some rocks in play now. This looks a little light here from Selve.
Where tight?
And indeed it is.
Really soft, or yeah.
So opportunity now for Zacharias. They're already sitting one, and chance for Emily Zacharias, or sorry, for Carly Burgess rather, to come around this pile and lie two. And one of those two would be fully
Sounds
buried.
really hard. Yeah, I thought you were close.
Over on sheet one in our other must-win game for Alberta 1, Kayla Skurlik, and Manitoba 2, Beth Peterson. It was a big 3 for Team Skurlik. So they were down 4-0, but putting up a 3 in the third end. So it's now 4-3 for Beth Peterson. Peterson has the hammer. They're playing the fourth. We'll do our best to keep you updated on that, as well as the doubles action. Nice shot there made by Carly Burgess. The ladies doubles is also another must-win game, as Taylor Reese-Hansen and Sierra Fisher are up against Shaylin Kitts and Maddie Kleider. And so far it's BC out to an early lead, as Fisher and Reese-Hansen are up 5-2 on Saskatchewan. So similar situation there to this game that we're watching on the stream. Winner of that one will make it to the women's doubles final. No semifinals for the doubles. They're just 4 teams playing in single pool action. So the winner there will move on to the final and will cash a pretty sizable check. The doubles winner picks up $5,000 and the loser picks up $2,500 in the final. So certainly a game that those two teams would love to win. And with Brown and McMillan already through to the playoffs, it would be a BC sweep for getting through the first round, which I'm sure Fisher and Reese-Hansen would love to be a part of. Of course, Sierra's sister, Sam Fisher. Just creating all these tongue twisters for myself. Sierra's sister, Sam, is on Corinne Brown's team.
What? Oh boy. Whoa, whoa. Curl.
And a nice shot there from Chantel Broderson, clearing out all the driftwood in front of the house. But it is still Zacharias lying two without hammer.
Shoot. I really liked my first throw. I'm like, why isn't it curling? Ah.
So Mackenzie Zacharias will just look to replace that guard in front of the house here. As that Carly Burgess stone in a very nice position. Just a little heavy from Mackenzie Zacharias, but certainly not in a terrible spot as they lie 3 without hammer. It's a bit of decision time here for Sherrer. If she wanted to get really aggressive, she could try to draw around both of those red stones and lie shot. The double here is unlikely to result in a score of 2, but will help you not get stolen on. So that's kind of the decision you have to make here if you're Sherrer, and she's decided to go for the double. Obviously, the draw would carry with it a lot of risk. If you miss it, you'd have a very tough one on your last, potentially facing 4. So we get a look there at the Brady Scharback team eliminated this morning. So enjoying a few adult beverages in our ice side lounge. Of course, if you're in Saskatoon, come on down and join us for some great action tonight. The playoffs start tonight at 8:30. The on-ice lounge was bumping last night, and upstairs was great too. So if you're in Saskatoon and got nothing to do on your Saturday night, come on down and join us here for some excellent curling and a great atmosphere here at the Best of the West. Sarah Drummond trying to get this one to curl, and it will not curl enough. So it continues to be Zacharias lying 2. Neither skip having their best game so far today, as Mackenzie Zacharias sitting at 50%. Result of a few misses, a few full misses on her part, and then Marla Sherrer at 63 after 3 ends. So again, a case where the 2 skips maybe just having that long layoff, almost 24 hours off, just trying to get themselves back into the game and a little bit more used to the ice.
No more line. Okay, line's actually good. 2 is pretty good.
So just looking to guard again here. This one you certainly don't mind getting in the house to make Sherrer have to draw against 3 instead of 2. And Zacharias makes no mistake. So this has been the first end where the Manitoba team has really looked in control, making all their shots. And it is Marla Sherrer going to draw against 3 here. So final stone for Marla Sherrer, down 2 and facing 3.
Line's good.
Needs a piece of the button.
Line's good. Running still.
Selve and Drummond on it early.
Line's really good. Hard, girls, yep.
Looks like they're going to need to really sweep to get it there.
Really
Can they get it there? Need to at least outcount the 2 and the 12-foot. And I'm not sure. I'll have to take a look at the overhead. Looks like they're certainly out counting the one at the top, but I think it might be a steal of 2. And indeed, it is a steal of 2 for Team Zacharias. So they will take a 4-0 lead. When we come back, we're going to take a 2-minute break here for the 4th end, and we'll be back live. You're watching the SGI Canada Best of the West.
Our roots might be simple, but our methods are far from it. Canadian dairy farmers proudly meet some of the most stringent standards in the world, including the 42 food safety requirements set by our national quality program. We do it by working hard and by ensuring that every cow is monitored every day so that we can bring you high quality milk. High Canadian standards. That's dairy farming forward.
Hi, I'm Mike Squires, and I invite you to come down to SMP and see why we're Saskatchewan's #1 Chevrolet dealer. We've been serving Saskatoon and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With over 400 new and used vehicles on the lot, SMP will have the vehicle you're looking for. We also have an amazing staff with hundreds of years of combined experience in sales, service, and collision repair to help you with all your automotive needs. Come visit us at 715 Circle Drive East or online at spchev.ca.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year.
Hello curling fans, welcome back to continuing coverage of the SGI Canada Best of the West. It is the final draw in the women's round robin. It's Alberta 2, Marla Sherrer against Manitoba 1, Mackenzie Zacharias. And the first half of the game has been all Zacharias all the time. They lead 4-0. So for Sherrer, it's going to be a case of trying to get themselves back in the game, and to be quite frank, they've had their opportunities. It hasn't, even though the score might be 4-0 and Sherrer may be shut out, it hasn't been for nothing. Sherer's had some great opportunities and just hasn't been able to capitalize on them. They had a really good force of Zacharias in the second, but haven't been able to capitalize on maybe some steal opportunities. Or sorry, rather haven't been able to capitalize on some opportunities with the hammer in the third and fourth ends. And so they find themselves down 4, but still very much in the game. And if you're just tuning in, as we said, it's a must-win game for both of these teams. The winner of this will move on to the playoffs to meet Corinne Brown. The semifinals go tonight at 8:30 local time. So nice setup for both of these teams. Sarah Drummond getting those 2 corner guards up, and Lauren Ledentine answering with 2 perfect draws on the center. So Emily Zacharias just looking to put a cap on those two Lennentine stones. As we mentioned earlier, it's been a great game for this front end. Lennentine now curling at a 97% clip and Emily at 91. So it's been a really nice game, and we've seen that happen, you know, in the second end. The Lauren Lennentine stone ends up being the one that scores. Emily Zacharias' stone ends up being the one that scores in the third. So it's been some great setup shots from those two.
Yeah, I think feed us to the middle.
And this is where Sherrer getting a little bit aggressive here, down 4, just ignoring the line of Zacharias stones in the middle, attempting to come around the corner.
Really running. Back 4. Back 4. We're a little hot. I don't think I can go yet.
Very nice shot from Julie Selve. That rock is lost behind those guards.
Until it took that turn.
So Zacharias forced to just straight peel this top one.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Nice, Julie.
And nice shot there from Emily Zacharias, but doesn't quite get that one out, and it rolls to the back 4. So opportunity here now for Sherrer if they can make this corner freeze and try to bring that yellow one in the back of the 4-foot into play. They'd start to be looking pretty good. And that's a fantastic pair of rocks from Julie Selve. 2 excellent draws. And this is the first time we've seen Sherrer look really threatening with the hammer. They've got those yellows in a great spot. And of course, Zacharias is still shot, so they're just going to look to guard this up. Over in our other must-win game between Skurlik and Peterson, it was a blank in the 4th end, so it continues to be Beth Peterson leading by 1, 4-3, and she has the hammer. They're playing the 5th. And in women's doubles, the other must-win game, Saskatchewan only able to pull 1 back on BC. So BC, Sierra Fisher and Taylor Reese-Hansen up 5-3 with the hammer. They're playing the 5th as well. And a nice shot there from Carly Burgess.
Probably starting. I think we try this now. You'll probably always have something on that red this way. Might just not look pretty, but sure.
So just trying to figure out the best way to eliminate that red shot stone. You could also just peel the guards and maybe delay the end a bit, or peel the guard rather. There's not really a double peel there, but they're going to try and go after this red one in the house. Chantel Broderson says she can see about half of it from the hack, so
Like 14.5.
going to chase after it with just a light takeout weight here. Lovely shot from Chantel Broderson. Gets rid of that shot stone, and they are now sitting one. Really nice weight, well managed. And all of a sudden, that's a bit of a lonely red in there if you're Mackenzie Zacharias.
The hair higher, like we got right to the nose. You like that? yeah. I was a little scared. You don't have to cut it that close. Was that firm?
So big shot here for Carly Burgess, trying to get another red stone in there, but this is really curling. Zacharias and Lenentine trying to get it by this top red, but I don't think they will. So it might have helped them a little bit in that top yellow is not super accessible now for Marla Sherrer, at least not from the left-hand side of it. They might have some kind of double on these top reds. Yeah, exactly. I like that.
Yeah.
So both were good options there, but
Okay.
you move those ones in the front. If you don't move that yellow far enough, the rock doesn't really do anything, and it also cuts down your draw path. So Chantel Broderson going to try to do what Carly Burgess was attempting to do on her last one and come around everything, the lie two.
Pose for line. Oh!
Need this one to slow down. And it will not. So
Yeah. Probably just as quick out there.
some nice line, but doesn't slow down in time. So it continues to be Sherrer lying one without hammer.
Did you get on that?
The problem with that miss for Broderson is now it's a pretty easy draw for Zacharias. She just needs to come down and sit on top of those yellows, and it's going to be tough for Sherrer to score more than one here.
Yeah. Line's good. Clean. Good. Gotta go. Good. Line's good.
So Mackenzie Zacharias looking for the freeze here.
Line's good. Yeah, yellow line. Good. Hard. Okay, line's good. Yeah.
And she makes no mistake. So it continues to be Sherrer sitting 1, but starting to look a little bit tougher to see how they're going to get any more than 1 here. Another look at that. Nice shot there from Zach. As some of you may know, if you follow me on Twitter at Cullen on Curling, I've been calling Mackenzie Zacharias and her team Zach and the Attack for the last 3 years or so, but now they're going to be playing with Jennifer Jones next year. We don't know exactly what to call them, so if you have any suggestions, feel to tweet at me. Let me know what you're thinking. We need obviously some kind of rhyming situation. So yeah, I talked with the team last night. We were brainstorming, but we couldn't come up with anything. So if you have something, let us know. I don't know if it's going to be as catchy as Zach and the Attack, but we're ready for it. Let us have it. So this is a really tough shot. You can see from the top of the house there, just not a lot of room for Marla Sherrer to get this into count 2. Obviously, there's still rocks to come, but she's going to have to curl past her yellow shot stone in the top of the 4 to get this in for shot. So not easy here, and this looks like it's got a lot of weight.
Sarah, yep, you can go. Okay, well, it's not getting there.
And it just sails by the 4-foot. Now this is one of those weird shots for Mackenzie Zacharias. There's not really a way for her to get shot. But Marla Sherrer, if Mackenzie Zacharias just doesn't even throw her rock, there's not an easy way for Marla Sherrer to get a second point in there either. So one of those where you go, I don't know, do we just throw a guard, I guess? So Zacharias figuring maybe the most danger is on this side of the sheet. Looks like she's just going to guard the potential yellow chap. So obviously, Zacharias and Lenentine figuring that the shot Marla Sherrer just played isn't even there. And I guess we'll see if Marla Sherrer believes that it is or not. Really no other option for her. I do agree. I said this when she threw it for the first time. It's a really tricky spot because you've got to curl past your Yellowstone that's in the 4-foot. And that's not very easy. If we get a look maybe a little more at the 4-foot here, you'll be able to see that. Yeah, so you can see it's not only got to go past the top red, but it's also has to curl past the top yellow to get inside that red one, that second shot. Very, very difficult to do. But we'll see if Sherrer is up to the challenge. Lying one and desperately looking to score a second point here.
Yep, little bit. Where's the wheat? Room. Yep.
This is closer than her first one, that's for sure.
Yep. Hard.
This might have a chance. You got to get by that top one, though.
Curl.
They do. Now can they get by their yellow enough?
Good try.
They just cannot. Very close try from Marla Sherrer. Looks like it's red from up here, but tough to say. Almost a perfect shot from Sherrer, but it may not have been enough. And they will kick them off. So it wasn't quite enough for Marla Sherrer. Excellent try, but the shot just simply might not have been there. So they will put one on the board, and Mackenzie Zacharias will get the hammer back in 6. You're watching the SGI Best of the West live from Saskatoon.
Might be simple, but our methods are far from it. Canadian dairy farmers proudly meet some of the most stringent standards in the world, including the 42 food safety requirements set by our national quality program. We do it by working hard and by ensuring that every cow is monitored every day so that we can bring you high quality milk. High Canadian standards. That's dairy farming forward.
Good afternoon, welcome back curling fans. Continuing coverage of the first annual SGI Best of the West, Canada's premier U30 tournament here live from the Nutana Curling Club in Saskatoon. Whether you're watching on Curling Canada or Curling Zone, we appreciate you being here for this final round robin game between Team Alberta 2, Marla Sherrer, and Team Manitoba 1, Mackenzie Zacharias. And we've played 5 ends, and 3 of them have looked exactly the same, where a team gets a rock into a scoring position early and the team with the hammer not really able to do much with it. This time it results in not a steal, however, for Zacharias, but a score of 1 for Marla Sherrer. She made a fantastic attempt on her last one to try and score a second point, but just couldn't quite get in there. And so it's Zacharias with a 3-point lead and the hammer here playing the 6th end, a position I'm sure they're thrilled to be in. Over in our other must-win round-robin game, it is a huge 4-point 5th end for Beth Peterson. So Beth Peterson is now leading Kayla Skurlik 8-3. So it's going to be a long road back for Skurlik, and of course the winner of that game as well, advancing directly to the playoffs to face Kayla McMillan. And so it's certainly looking like that's going to be a Peterson-McMillan game tomorrow. Or sorry, tonight rather. In our games that don't have much consequence on the standings, it is Saskatchewan, Lorraine Schneider up 6-3 on Corinne Brown. Corinne Brown has the hammer. They're playing the 6th. And in the other BC-Saskatchewan game, McMillan against Fesser, they're tied 4-4. Fesser has the hammer. They're playing the 5th. In the doubles games, the one doubles game out here we haven't talked about much because it also doesn't impact the standings. Team Alberta, Danielle Schmiemann and Kelsey Rock, commanding 7-2 leaders over Team Manitoba, Tansy Tober and Stephanie Felius. Tober and Felius, both junior players, so a lot of these U30 players are well into their men's and ladies' careers, and the 2 Manitoba curlers are still U21 players, so very cool to see them out here in this field and playing well. And in the women's doubles game that does matter, that is the winner moves on game between Team BC and Team Saskatchewan, it is still BC leading 5-3. They're playing the 6th. BC has the hammer. Okay, back to our game. You're all up to date. 2 center guards up for Marla Sherrer and 2 Zacharias Stones in the house. Zacharias would love to put a couple points on the board here and really put this one out of reach. As we said earlier, the winner of this game will move on to play Corinne Brown, BC 1,
Oh, we got really.
in the semifinal tonight.
You got it, Julie. Hair hot? Top 4? See? Oh, yeah, gotta go. Top 4? Feet. Tight? Oh, Jesus, I kicked that. I touched this hair with my foot. Okay. It was just a little bit.
So Chantel Broderson kicking that rock out front, and her and Mackenzie Zacharias agreeing where it goes back, and it's not going to be long for this game, I don't think, as Emily Zacharias stepping up for a double peel here. So yeah, Julie Selvage is coming a little bit light in her draw attempt. So an opportunity now for Manitoba to clear out some of the detritus out front of the house. And unable to get both, but will still get the top one, does Emily Zacharias.
Okay. 6 feet more, yeah. It's lots more. Becky? Becky? Back 12. Lots of weight. Back. Okay. Good. Yeah.
So Selvage a little light on her first, a little heavy on her second, but has that Manitoba stone for backing, and so it is Shearer lying 1 without the hammer here, but Zacharias with her 3-point lead is going to be all too happy to peel the rock in front. And no mistake made from Emily Zacharias. Over in our women's doubles game, it's another 2 on the board for Sierra Fisher and Taylor Reese Hansen. So Team BC leading Team Saskatchewan 7-3. They're playing the 6th. The winner of that game will go on to face Danielle Schmiemann and Kelsey Rock in the doubles final, which will be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. local time. The men's doubles final will feature Alberta and Saskatchewan. As BC and Manitoba were officially eliminated this morning. It's a bit of an unlucky week for the BC men's doubles team. Had a shot to win the game in their first game and missed it. And then they had 2 very close games otherwise, so might feel a little hard done by leaving Saskatoon, but Alberta and Saskatchewan have been playing great all weekend long. So another guard up here for Alberta. And another guard down by Manitoba, Carly Burgess. Alberta with shot stone will be all too happy to continue to guard here.
No.
This one may be a little heavier than they were wanting it, but not in a bad spot.
The last one was like a 17. Almost the same spot. I got it.
The only issue with this one being a little deeper is it'll give Carly Burgess a chance to make the double peel here. Doesn't quite make it, so a little bit of a break here for Sherrer as that guard actually rolls into a position where Sherrer might be able to use it. We might see Marla Sherrer come in here.
I think either come around this one or to toss one more. She probably needs to draw this some follow it. We need to steal. I'm good with either of those. Yeah. Like there. Okay.
So the talk here is just they're worried that if they put this draw,
That's good. You got it.
they're worried about where they put this draw rather, because this is a pretty short, we'll look at the telestrator here, pretty short run back. So if Marla comes a little too deep, puts the rock right here, then this is a very easy slash run back here for Mackenzie Zacharias. So they're going to want to put the stone a little bit higher, just sort of somewhere maybe like here, to prevent the double run back from being made. So that was the discussion between Broderson and Sherrer. So the ideal situation for them is it over curls maybe slightly, over curls past that guard and ends up in the sort of top button area. But positioning the key here for Sherrer, lying one here without hammer and down 3. Just a little heavy, so opportunity here for Mackenzie Zacharias to probably just come right down to this rock if she'd like. So they've elected to play the run back here. They're just a little concerned if they don't make the draw perfectly. Sherrer might have something to lie 3 buried behind cover, and right now being up 3, don't want to be in a position where you're shooting against 3 on your last one. So the thought here is you might be able to get all the yellows moving, and even if you don't, you get rid of one of them off of the 4-foot and it gives you a draw on your last one. So we'll see what they get here. Mackenzie Zacharias looking for a run back triple. And runs it by everything and leaves her red right there. So real opportunity here for Sherrer without the hammer. She's already lying 2, and there's a guard up in front.
Do you like leaving her the top then? Okay. I don't think you need much of that. Okay. You got it.
So real opportunity here for Marla Sherrer. She's down 3, but when this rock comes to rest, we'll have a chance to lie 3 buried behind a guard. Big shot here. Would love to be able to put some more pressure on Mackenzie Zacharias.
Line's good. Bit of room. Lots of room. Whoa. Whoa. Hold. Yep. Hard. Hard.
Got to get by this top one.
Hard. Really hard.
And unfortunately, it will rub. Can they get it in for third shot? They cannot. And so for Mackenzie Zacharias, it'll be a tap for 1. At least I'm assuming it's a tap. Could also be a straight draw. Needs a piece of the button no matter what she's doing here. So final stone, Mackenzie Zacharias in her first real trouble of the game, facing 2. Definitely looking for the tap here. This is really curling. And they won't tap it far enough, so it's going to be a steal of 1 for Marla Sherrer. Very well played end for the team from Alberta. Okay, they're calling for a measure. It's not really, doesn't, at least from our camera angle, doesn't even look close. But our camera angle can sometimes be deceiving. We got deceived yesterday. But to me, it doesn't look close. But I'm not standing right over top of it like Carly Burgess.
Yeah, she is.
Carly just said she thinks it's yellow. I tend to agree with you, Carly. Yeah, they're just figuring out now they can look on the TV. Yeah, there you go. It's much more fun to watch a measure on a big screen. So we'll take a look here. And wow, it is red. So, geez, goes to show you, commentator maybe doesn't really know a whole lot. Manages to tap it just far enough to put one on the board. It is 5-1 for Mackenzie Zacharias. Sherrer will have the hammer when we come back. You're watching the SGI Canada Best of the West.
Our roots might be simple, but our methods are far from it. Canadian dairy farmers proudly meet some of the most stringent standards in the world, including the 42 food safety requirements set by our national quality program. We do it by working hard and by ensuring that every cow is monitored every day so that we can bring you high quality milk. High Canadian standards. That's dairy farming forward.
So let's take a look at the SGI Canada and SaskMilk shot of the night. Emily Zacharias here in the second end, making the triple. No mistake. She's been on point with her up-weight hits all game. Get a good look at it there. Doesn't quite get the third rock out, but still a fantastic shot, setting up a score for her team. That's the SGI Canada and SaskMilk shot of the night. Congratulations to Emily Zacharias. You will receive one hearty handshake from me. So it did end up being a point for Zacharias last end after this commentator was vehemently convinced that it was not even worthy of measuring, and I was told by our production team here that the camera is just a little bit behind the tee line. So now I know. I only had to get two measures flagrantly wrong before I learned this information. So now I know. Now if there's ever a measure, I'll be intelligent and I will say, well, you know, the camera, it's a little bit behind the tee line, so it's tough to tell. But Mackenzie Zacharias getting that all-important point there. She's now up 4 with 2 ends to play. Got to feel like she's in control and feeling good. And speaking of feeling good, it looks like we have potentially a final over on sheet 4. Yes, we do. Courtney Fesser picking up a win over Kayla McMillan. Doesn't impact the standings at all. Well, I mean, it does in that McMillan now has a loss and Fesser has a win, but McMillan still finishing the top of that group and Fesser still missing the playoffs. But nice win for Fesser to get on the board. And in our other must-win game, it is Beth Peterson. Just going to check out the score here. Looks like it's being updated. Peterson was up by 5. Just going to wait for confirmation here of the 6th end score. It is 2 for Kayla Skurlik, so Peterson now leads 8-5 with the hammer. They're playing the 7th.
T-line. Block. Back 4. Can't go. Uh-oh. T.
And here in our feature game, also a must-win game for both of these teams. The winner will move on to the women's semifinals tonight. And it is Zacharias firmly in control, up 5-1 here. So Zacharias being up 4, just looking to get this Emily Zacharias stone in the house, pardon me. And they will do just that. So it's a cluster of 3 reds at the top of the forefoot that Marla Sherrer will have to deal with. Safe to say Sherrer is going to need at least 2 this end to make the 8th competitive. We will be back with more live coverage of the Best of the West at 4:30 this afternoon. It will be a rematch between Braden Calvert and Karsten Sturmay, with a playoff berth on the line. It's going to be a fun one to watch. The two of them played a great game yesterday afternoon, back and forth all afternoon, and we'll look forward to seeing them do it again. As Julie Selve gets one of those reds out and the other 2 moving. And it is now peel time for Team Zacharias.
Okay.
Nice shot there from Emily Zacharias, who continues to have a great game, shooting 88%. She had the shot of the night and is playing extremely well. Lauren Lenentine with the high percentage of the game so far, shooting 94%. And really the percentages don't always tell the story, but in this 5-1 game for Marla Sherrer, they do tell a bit of a story. I've got my main man Ryder here on the stats, and it's been a good game for Sarah Drummond at 86%, but it falls off from there. Julie Selve at 63, Chantel Broderson at 71, and Marla Sherrer curling 54%. So those are numbers that are tough to win games with, and like we say, stats don't always tell the whole story, but there's been opportunities for the Sherrer team, and they just haven't quite been able to capitalize on them so far.
I think we need 1 here. Then if they stuff it, we can play off the red. We're kind of guarding that yellow. That's always going to be there, right? I think we just have to make sure that red's open at least. Yeah. I don't want to put a bird down. Gotta die. Trying. We're just tight.
So trying to throw up a guard here. The thought being that if they put it over on this side of the sheet, it might be difficult for Zacharias to get rid of it and not jam.
Okay. Pardon? I think it's too flat. Too flat to get all 3. Yeah. Like to get rid of the first yellow bit. Just shoot it across. We'll find out.
Carly Burgess will get rid of one of the yellow stones, or 2 of them rather. The one in front of the house and the one inside the house. So it's now Zacharias lying 1.
Okay. I gotta throw. Gotta make sure we're locked. All there, all there. You don't have to go. Hard, Julie.
Looking for a freeze here is Chantel Broderson. And it's a phenomenal shot. Broderson might only be at 71%, but she's had some absolutely fantastic shots this game. Used the big weight effectively a few times, made a few great draws as well. And that one is no exception, freezing right to the face of that red. Of course, if you're Zacharias, you're more than happy to give up 2 here, be up 2 with the hammer coming home. So just gonna get rid of this yellow here. Mistake from Carly Burgess.
Hey, can I throw the same? Like it's gonna go pretty hard. Okay.
So Broderson looking to split the house here, maybe get a corner behind that red one in the top 12.
Really curly.
And she makes no mistake. Great shot.
The hair heavy.
In our women's doubles must-win game, it's a 2-back for Saskatchewan in the 6th. Maddie Kleider and Shaylin Kitts. So BC leading them 7-5 with the hammer. They're playing the 7th.
Like, they said more, I said less. I'm like, okay, well, yeah.
So again, for Zacharias, you're happy to give up 2 here. So just look to get rid of that Broderson rock that was just thrown. Got to get by this red. And they will not. So all of a sudden, 3 in play here for Marla Sherrer. Might make our 8th end a little bit more interesting. Zacharias not having her best game today, curling 65% up to this point. And maybe a little evidence of that there with a miss of the hit. So good look there at how married those two rocks are. Really just a phenomenal shot from Chantel Broderson to set this opportunity up. So some discussion here about whether you just sort of draw the open side. There's always different ways of approaching this. I like the call here. You freeze another one on top of this. It's going to be pretty unlikely that Zacharias can get rid of both of them. Only thing you can't do here is unlock the red one and then roll to a spot where you leave a double for Zacharias. You want to be able to count your 3 here. So that's really the only mistake. If you're a little light here, it's not the end of the world. It's unlikely that Zacharias will have a double. So just can't be heavy here. So first rock here for Marla Sherrer. A little bit of pressure on Team Zacharias here in the 7th.
Running. Okay, got a curl a ton. Hard, really hard. Hard. Okay.
And that's in a pretty good spot, I think, for Sherrer. There's not really an obvious double here. Be very thin to get it across the house. You could try and smash the frozen rocks, but the risk you run there is you give up 4. And you certainly can't give up 4 here. Even 3's not that bad. You're up 1 with hammer coming home. So I think we're going to see Zacharias just try and pick this one out, and then she's going to try and roll to a spot where it might make it hard for, oh no, looks like maybe Lauren's lining up the double here, but they're just trying to, I thought originally, roll to a spot where maybe they make it so it's not super easy for Sherrer to get to that yellow stone, because she does still have to move that red in order to make that one in the side 12 count. So, yeah, that's what she's doing here. Just looking to hit this one. Maybe you unlock your red one off the back a little bit and you roll to a spot where the double's tough, but this is really curling. And just like that, 4 is on the table. My goodness. That was always the risk, playing close to those frozen stones for Mackenzie Zacharias, and it just over curls, and against all odds, Marla Sherrer is going to have a chance to tie this one up. I'm a little surprised we saw Zacharias try that shot, just because there was always the chance you might flirt with that back one. You just hit the open one. Okay, yeah, it sucks you give up 3, but at least you're still up 1 with hammer. This is really tough situation here now with potential tie game on the line for Marla. So final stone here for the skip from Lacombe. Down 4 and a shot for 4.
Whoa, clean. Yep. Whoa, yep.
This is the same spot where Zacharias is really curled.
Sarah, hard stick. 8-7. Way too much weight.
And as you heard from Chantel on the mic, just a little bit more weight than they were expecting. So unfortunately for Marla Sherrer, she rolls out and will only get 3. So it's still a 1-point game, but Zacharias will have the hammer when we come back. You're watching the SGI Canada Best of the West.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year.
Well, it was an interesting seventh end here in this final ladies round robin game. It's Manitoba against Alberta and Mackenzie Zacharias against Marla Sherrer. If you told Marla Sherrer before the seventh end that she was going to get 3 to make this a 1-point game, I bet she would have been thrilled with you, but maybe a little less thrilled with how it worked out because she had an open hit for 4 and just rolled out of the house. So Zacharias has a 1-point lead and the hammer, but we'll see if maybe they lost a little bit of momentum in that seventh. It's going to be a case of trying to be strong mentally here and ride this game out and get the win. The winner of this game will move on to the semifinal to play Corinne Brown, who is locked in a dogfight right now with Lorraine Schneider. Schneider's leading that one 6-5, and they have the hammer playing the last. In the other ladies group game that is a playoff decider, Kayla Skurlick with a big steal in 7. So she's now only down 2 to Beth Peterson, but Beth Peterson does have the hammer in the final end. So that one goes a little too far for Sarah Drummond.
Do we have our nose top? Yes. Yeah. What the heck? This is where you do yours. I know, but we took inside that debate for yours. Take it through.
So they were trying to tap this red one back and just getting a little outside is Lauren Lenentine. Haven't seen her make too many mistakes today. She's shooting 95% up to this point. So rare miss from her, and we talked about that momentum shift at the start of this end. Maybe we're already seeing it.
Wider pass. Pretty close. Halfway. Sliding.
So just looking to guard these guards is Julie Selve. Unfortunately for Shearer, the two guards being so close together, they're pretty easy to get rid of. And this one is close enough that Emily Zacharias might be able to get rid of all 3 of these. She's been great today, especially on her big weight. We saw her with her shot of the game in the second end, making that near triple and She's been really dynamite on peels all afternoon, curling 90%. Just not quite curl enough. Carly Burgess saving our ice mic from disaster. And so there's still 2 guards up there for Marla Sherrer. So would love this one a little bit higher than the last one with Julie Selve. And it's in just about the same spot, although it curled a little more, so might not be there to get rid of all 3 now. Would love to get rid of at least 2, though, would Emily Zacharias. This is curling. And not exactly what they were hoping for. Does get those double guards off the center, though, so not the worst case scenario for Team Zacharias.
Yeah, I think he's tucking on himself. So caught in between here on Chantel Broderson's. They would have loved this kind of just over the hog line, but failing that, you would have also loved it just behind that one. Unfortunately, kind of caught in between, and now it's right beside it. And Carly Burgess should be able to get rid of all 3 of these yellows. All right. Is it tight? We got around.
And Burgess is often there when you need her. Really nice shot, although they'd love for this one to not be in the house. Unfortunately, it does roll in, so again, not a bad scenario for Sherrer. Obviously, they would love to have one of these 2 red stones on the center, but with that yellow one there, it'll force, if Mackenzie Zacharias has to hit on her last one, will force her to have to stick in the house. But we're a little ways away from that yet. Chantel Broderson just going to try and replace the center guard here. And no mistake. So obviously, if you're Carly Burgess, you'd love to catch this yellow one in the house on the way by. But peel is the #1 priority.
This is going to be close, and it will just hang on. Great try from Carly Burgess. So 2 rocks to come here. Marla Sherrer is going to have to find a way to put some pressure on Mackenzie Zacharias here. So Sherrer will look to get another center guard up here.
Line's good. Oh. No, just don't touch it. Sarah, a bit. Okay. That's good. That's good.
A nice shot there from the Alberta skip.
Draw 4 foot. Like if we make the field good. You are. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with Carly Burgess. Zach asking if they liked the draw, but there's no real benefit to drawing. I mean, yeah, it's great if you make it perfectly top 4. Sherrer's got to play a run back. If she misses it, great, you win. If she makes it, you got to draw the 4 foot. But there's also just so much that can go wrong. You come light, you give them another guard. You come heavy, you give them something to freeze to. If you peel this, there's really nothing else for Sherrer to do. She's just going to draw around the corner guard, and then you have a draw to the 8 foot. So I'm thinking that Carly Burgess, the smart voice of reason there, and they've made the right call here to peel this. This is a little tight.
Right to it. Gotta go. Keep it on the line. Hold it.
But it will move just far enough. But I do think Marla Sherrer will be able to cut down the scoring area a little bit more based on where this red one ended up.
Sorry? I just thought inside edge, but it's still up to the line. Well.
The good part here for Sherrer is if you get even slightly buried,
Okay, show me where you want it.
Zacharias has to draw, and if she misses the draw, you could potentially score 2. So that's really all you can ask for as a skip that's down.
Okay. There.
We've got another final in doubles. Danielle Schmiemann and Kelsey Rock winning to complete their perfect 3-0 trip through the round robin. And that'll be the end of the tournament for Tansy Tober and Stephanie Felius. So Schmiemann and Rock will move on to tomorrow's ladies doubles final, and they'll await the winner of BC and Saskatchewan. That game's still ongoing. BC got a single point in the 7th, so they're up 8-5 over Saskatchewan, who will have the hammer coming home. And speaking of coming home, Marla Sherrer with her potential last rock of the game, looking to get this one around the corner guard in the full 8 foot to cut down Mackenzie Zacharias' scoring area.
Line's good. Bit of room. Lots of room, lots of room. Always has to curl. Got it, curl. Switch. Hard.
You need to get this one at least a piece buried. You don't want to give Zacharias a hit with her last one.
Hard.
If you can help it.
Hard, go. Hard.
Sarah Drummond trying to bring it over. Can they get it far enough? I think that should be good.
15-9.
That should force Mackenzie Zacharias to draw, I think. Yes, indeed. So it's been a bit of a struggle the last few ends for Mackenzie Zacharias, but just needs a piece of the forefoot here for the win and the berth in the semifinal. So final stone here for Mackenzie Zacharias in the 8th. Up 1. And just needs a piece of the forefoot for the victory. Burgess and Emily Zacharias on this right away. Lauren Lenentine out to help. Can they get it there? They need to at least outcount that one in the 12-foot. Can they get it past that one? They can. Can they get it there for shot? They cannot. So Mackenzie Zacharias' struggles continue as Marla Sherrer will steal a point here in the 8th, and we're going to an extra. Mackenzie Zacharias will have the hammer when we come back. You're watching the SGI Canada Best of the West. Well, it had to happen at some point. Our first extra end on the stream this weekend so far. And it's been a bit of a shocker here as Mackenzie Zacharias with a 5-1 lead with 2 ends to play has given up that lead, and it is now tied 5-5. Marla Sherrer playing really well the last couple ends, and a few timely misses from Mackenzie Zacharias herself have put these points on the board. And so we're here for an extra end, and we'll see if Sherrer can repeat the feat and get the victory here. As we said, the winner here will move on to the playoffs to face Corinne Brown. Corinne Brown actually just managing a big steal of her own in 8, playing against Lorraine Schneider of Saskatchewan. And so they're tied at 6. They're playing an extra. We'll keep you updated on that one. We do have a couple finals, though, to report over on sheet 1. It was Beth Peterson securing her spot in the semifinal. They were 8-7 winners over Kayla Skurlik of Alberta. So Beth Peterson will be facing Kayla McMillan in one of the semifinals, and we will see who will meet Corinne Brown in the other one. Will the semis be an all BC Manitoba affair, or can Marla Sherrer sneak Alberta in? It's all going to come down to this. So Sarah Drummond just looking to put this one a little shy of the rings.
Just over.
As we talked about coming into the game, Mackenzie Zacharias currently ranked 13th in the world, and Marla Sherrer ranked 77th. So this win would be one of the biggest upsets you could see in this ladies' field. Sherrer is actually the lowest ranked team in this ladies field, and Zacharias is the highest. So quite literally, that would be the biggest upset we have to offer here in Saskatoon, and everybody loves an underdog. We'll see if the team from the Lacombe Curling Club can pull it out here, but nice start from Lauren Lenentine, getting Zacharias on the front foot here with 2 counters. And this is actually an eerily similar start to last end with the 2 guards right beside each other out front for Marla Sherrer. It worked out well for them last end. We'll see if it does again here.
They're a little hot. Top ball. We're just top 8. Could be to it. Okay. Like a third?
So nice shot there from Julie Selve, freezing on top of that red one, and now the double peel will be called for from Emily Zacharias. And she will make no mistake just squeezing that by the red in the front. So they'll look to replace the guard here.
Pull a hair coat. Tight. Just halfway. Okay. Gonna curl early. Half.
So Emily Zacharias looking for the peel again here. This one might be a little tight. No, they're able to hold it out there. Good sweeping by Carly Burgess. So a little bit more of a controlled setup here for Team Zacharias compared with the last end, although that yellow's in a pretty decent spot for Sherrer at the moment.
Same as last end. Ooh, I'm going over something.
No mistake there from Chantel Broderson on the guard. Carly Burgess will sail that peel by. Don't see that too often from her. And once again, Marla Sherrer is in business.
Do you hate moving that red just like back behind the tee line? Yeah. My last one, so we kind of have to. Okay. I just think I want to move it so we have something to breathe on to.
So you could hear from Chantel Broderson. Originally, Marla Sherrer thought maybe they'd draw around everything, which I didn't mind that call either, but Chantel thought maybe just a little tap back here, maybe give themselves something to freeze on would be the call, and so that's what they're deciding on here. I just think if you're Sherrer, you're running out of time to be shot rock, so I didn't mind Sherer's original call, but they will move that one up, but the yellow's wide open here for Zacharias.
I think that's better than making a double. You might say this is half, I guess, and there's nothing. I think the double is pretty good. I think he's going to tap it, then you just feel it, he has to freeze. We're going to have the rip because we have 2 other counters. And 6 taller.
So looking for the double here is Carly Burgess. This is close. And she gets it. A little kiss from the red on the way by. And Team Zacharias looking pretty decent at the moment. Nice shot.
Yeah.
Of course, Sherrer will have the opportunity to hit and roll behind those guards.
I like that. I think that.
So not out of the woods yet is Mackenzie Zacharias, but
I think it'll finish harder.
certainly looking a little bit better than it was.
Got it. I think this is close. I don't mind the hair less, even, honestly.
So looking like they're going to freeze here is Team Sherrer. You could hit and roll. The benefit of that is that you're getting shot stone. But they could also just kind of weasel in off of this red one as well and get behind everything. I'm not sure exactly what they're trying here. It does look like the ice for the freeze potentially.
Watch the room. Let it work if you can. Whoa. Really gotta curl. Whoa, 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 off. Gotta curl. Always Sarah.
Yeah, this looks a little heavy.
Yep. Hard, 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 hard. Good. 15-1.
So good shot. The issue for Sherrer here is that they're still not shot stone. So Zacharias has an option here. She could simply just guard this if she wanted to. Force Sherrer to try and draw with the outturn. But the problem is if Sherrer makes that, you're in a bit of trouble.
Tried really hard. I like if you don't play it, like probably play it. If we feel, what did she do? It's obviously nice work. It's like here. This is here. Comes to me. Like, if it comes to here, I like the guard, but then maybe not. That's just really tough. Well, that's out? Yeah. Yeah, and out, have a bit of tolerance. It might leave our better ankle to come off if we do it. I think this is a shot. I really do. I think it is. I think we have some tolerance because if we come up here, we make still the run. Yeah, as long as we're not locked through this. It has to almost be. Yep. There we go.
So they talked about a few different things. They talked about potentially ripping the guard, and then if Sherrer somehow gets in towards the middle area, then you'd be able to just run your red back in the top 12. They also talked about trying to maybe just separate that yellow from the red and roll in towards the middle, but I think they've just decided on a straight draw here. And I like this call. I think if Mackenzie Zacharias can get this to the top of the button, I don't know how Sherrer gets at it. That won't have the slash. That's sort of guarded by the red rock that's already there. And it'll be very difficult for her to get to it, maybe skinnying off of her own. So I like this call for Zacharias, just looking to be be first and second shot. Get this one top button. So first stone here in the 9th for Mackenzie Zacharias.
Mine's good. Yeah, I think we have to go buy it. Yeah.
Looks a little heavy.
Yeah. Hard him. Yes.
Do not want to make the Sherrer stone shot. And they don't do that, so that's at least one positive, but Mackenzie Zacharias has had a very tough last few ends, and it continues here. So now if you're Marla Sherrer, you can hit your own yellow, roll in behind that guard, or you can just straight draw right there. And Mackenzie Zacharias is going to be in a lot of trouble to score. If I'm Sherrer, I think I favor the hit here. The straight draw, if you miss it, it's game over. Whereas the hit, you might not make it perfectly, but you're at least going to force Mackenzie Zacharias to throw, and she's missed her last 6 shots. So, yeah, I think the hit's the right call here. Even, like I say, even if you give Zacharias a shot with her last one, she's struggling right now, clearly. And so you don't want to throw the draw and somehow miss it and just give the Zacharias team a chance to win without having to throw their last one. So I like this call. You can hit it right on the nose even, but obviously a roll behind those guards would be really good. If you roll dead buried, it's going to be very tough for Zacharias to score. She's likely playing a run back for the win. So final stone here from Marla Sherrer in the extra. A chance to apply an extreme amount of pressure to Mackenzie Zacharias.
Sarah, a little bit. Yep. Hard, Sarah, hard.
And she saved the best for last. Fantastic shot from Marla Sherrer. Got the roll, and now Zacharias is going to have to throw a pretty tough double here. Excellent roll. Get a look at the overhead here. You can see the double is definitely there, but she's got to navigate by those 2 guards. And she's got to throw enough weight that she pushes that yellow one out of the forefoot. So not super easy. You can see Lauren Lenentine measuring it up. So a spot in the semifinals on the line here for Mackenzie Zacharias and Manitoba 1. The top-ranked women's team in the tournament facing potential elimination here. Can Zacharias pull this one out? Final stone. Yes, she can. It was a bit of a struggle for the last few ends for Mackenzie Zacharias, but she finds the final stone just when she needs it, making a fantastic double for the win. So Manitoba 1 will be moving on to the semifinals, but what a great game from Marla Sherrer and Alberta 2. Absolutely fantastic curling. We're going to have some more fantastic curling coming up for you in just about an hour's time. Men's tiebreaker between Braden Calvert and Karsten Sturmay will be locked live on the Curling Canada and Curling Zone YouTube pages. For my Statsman Ryder, the whole crew, I've been John Cullen. We'll see you later.